Good morning, everyone. I'm Hannah, and I'm here to sell you on the idea of Tim Hortons in France. Now, Tim Hortons first opened in Hamilton, Ontario, 1964 by Ronald V. Joyce and Tim Horton himself. Ronald V. Joyce became sole owner after Tim Hortons' tragic car accident in 1974. Now, Tim Hortons strives to cater the best quality and fresh products to their consumers, like coffee, baked goods, breakfast items, and lunch items. Tim Hortons started off as a domestic business, but it was sold to Wendy's and then sold to Burger King for US $11.4 billion. After its sale, it was expanded to the US and other countries like China and the Middle East. Tim Hortons is in the fast food industry. Its coffee beans are bought in from numerous regions that supply coffee beans to the world. The company's branch plants are located in Oakville, Ontario, Canada, and Rochester, New York, USA. Now, I'm going to skip the pleasantries and introductions and get straight to the point. Tim Hortons in France. Think about it, let it sit, sink, swim. Do whatever you want to do with it. Right. Now listen, we're bringing a little taste of Canada to France. France is a beautiful country. It's got its rich history and gorgeous architecture. You know, it's got the Louvre, it's got the Arc de Triomphe, it's got the Eiffel Tower, Versailles, and its gorgeous sceneries. It's home to the most exquisite wines and dishes known to man. All of these things are on everyone's bucket lists. Tourists from all over the world, including many from Canada, go on vacation to France, spending weeks or even months at a time in Paris, some even moving there. Many even come to do international business, which requires many businessmen and women like ourselves to travel back and forth or spend long periods of time in France. And what better way to make Canadians feel at home than to open up a Tim Hortons in France? The tiny espressos and intricate fancy desserts get tiring after a while, and we all know some of us crave a taste of home. Just ask many of our own team members how homesick they get when they go abroad. This is something that can bring joy to Canadians and might even bring joy to others if this goes through. We went as far as to go and conduct a short survey while in France to ask some tourists what they thought on opening up a Tim Hortons in France. Look at those numbers through the roof. A whopping 84% said yes to opening up a Tim Hortons in France. Tourism in France was at a record high last year at about 89.4 million visitors, part of whom are Canadians. Now, I know that all of us in this room go on vacation, and all of us also have to travel abroad for weeks at a time for business and work. Am I right? Right. Now, I want you to imagine being back in France. The first few days is fun, it's exciting, but then that longing for home sets in, and I imagine that that's how some tourists feel as well. Sometimes the stress of closing a deal can get to you, make you want to seek comfort in the familiar, but you're in a foreign country. Everything there is but familiar. Now, I want you to think, imagine there being a Tim Hortons there, a taste of Canada away from Canada, a taste of home when you're not at home. No more tiny espresso cups and fancy desserts, just the plain old-fashioned cup of joe or whatever you please in your hand. Those yummy Timbits sitting in their little cardboard boxes in front of you as you sip on the warm coffee in your hands, and a sense of comfort washes over you as you look out at the beautiful Parisian scenery. And that right there is the feeling we want to give others in France. Now, the average cost of a Parisian breakfast is 5 to 8 euros, but what about those who need something slightly bigger? Say an American style or even Canadian breakfast. The average cost of that in France is 15 to 18 euros. Ridiculous. Tim Hortons is a fraction of that cost and offers much more. If opened in France, the prices are the first thing to drive customers towards us. The second thing is the foreign element for the French. Think about it. To the French, their cuisine is normal. They are used to their small cups and dainty desserts and overly gourmet food. What is better than to draw new consumers in by placing in a foreign element that will broaden their horizons and also bring joy to the tourists and business folk? Two birds, one stone. With every venture comes its own challenges. France is known for its culinary arts and expensive meals. This is one thing that can draw consumers towards Tim Hortons in France. The cheap prices for good quality products will do famously in France, as there is a need for fast-paced coffee shops. The biggest competition in France for Tim Hortons will be the Starbucks chains. Starbucks is one of the very expensive coffee chains and burns holes through everyone's wallets, which is why Tim Hortons will prosper when it comes to affordability. Also, the menu at Tim Hortons is much more diverse and offers more products than Starbucks. What we can do to improve sales is to cater to some of the French needs. Tim Hortons keeps its original menu and adds some new French aspects to it. This way we are being inclusive to the area in which we are selling our Canadian products. Tim Hortons will prosper in France due to its tourism, its international businessmen and women, foreign elements for the French, and relatively cheap prices for good quality products.